My mother-in-law insisted on moving in with us right after I gave birth, claiming she wanted to help with the baby. At first, I was grateful. Juggling a newborn and recovering from childbirth was overwhelming. But her help quickly turned into a nightmare. She criticized everything I did, from how I held my son to the brand of diapers I used. She'd say, "In my day, we didn't coddle babies like this, or you're spoiling him." One afternoon, I was trying to get the baby to sleep, and he was being particularly fussy. My mother-in-law snatched him from my arms, saying, "You're making him nervous." "Let me handle it." She started rocking him so vigorously I was scared she'd hurt him. I tried to protest, but she just waved me away. I felt like a failure in my own home, a stranger to my own child. My husband, Mark, was no help. Whenever I tried to talk to him about it, he'd just say, "She's just trying to help, honey, she means well." "She's my mom." He didn't see the constant undermining, the passive-aggressive comments that chipped away at my confidence day after day. I felt completely alone, trapped in a house that no longer felt like my own. The breaking point came when I found her giving my 2-month-old son water with a bit of sugar in it. "It'll soothe his tummy," she said casually. The doctor had been very clear. Only breast milk or formula. I so read. I took my baby, packed a bag, and told Mark I was going to my sister's. I told him, "It's either her or me. You need to choose." That night, Mark showed up at my sister's door. He looked exhausted. He told me he'd had a long talk with his mom. He finally understood how much she had been hurting me. He said he was sorry for not listening, for not protecting me and our son. He told his mom she needed to go home and that we would visit, but she couldn't live with us anymore. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done, but he knew it was the right thing. We went home the next day, just the 3 of us. It wasn't easy, but we started to heal and build our own little family on our own terms. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more.
I always believed my family was close. Not perfect, but close enough that we trusted each other. But that belief shattered 2 months ago. It started when I visited my parents' house for a normal Sunday dinner. Everyone was acting strange. My mom kept avoiding eye contact, my dad barely spoke, and my younger sister wouldn't stop staring at me like she was waiting for something to explode. After dinner, my parents asked me to stay a minute. My dad looked pale as he said, "There's something we should have told you a long time ago." He handed me an envelope. Old, yellowed, with my name written in shaky handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a letter from my biological mother. My heart dropped. I learned that the woman I had always called Mom wasn't the one who gave birth to me. My biological mother had struggled with addiction, violence at home, and mental health issues. She made the painful decision to let my parents adopt me quietly to give me a stable life. She wrote in the letter, "Please don't hate me. I wanted to protect you from becoming like me." I sat there shaking while my family watched me silently. All my memories felt like they suddenly weren't mine anymore. My sister was crying. My dad apologized for not telling me earlier. My mom, the woman who raised me, kept repeating, "You are my child. Nothing changes that." But something did change. I felt betrayed, confused, and angry all at once. Not because I was adopted, but because everyone knew except me. My grandparents, my cousins, even my sister. She found out when she was 10. I asked why they waited so long. My mom said, "We thought we were protecting you." And then every year it got harder to explain. So we kept waiting. The truth settled like a weight in the room. Something they kept hidden for 20 years, revealed in 10 minutes. Later that night, after they went to bed, I sat alone reading the letter again and again. The last line hit me hardest. "If you ever want to find me, I hope I'm still someone worth finding. Now I'm stuck between 2 worlds. The family who raised me and the woman who gave me life. I don't know which path I'll choose, but I do know one thing. Secrets don't protect families. They break them." Last month, my family celebrated my grandmother's 80-year birthday, And trust me, our family treats this event like the Super Bowl of reunions. There were over 40 relatives, a live band, a professional photographer, and enough food to feed a small nation. Everything looked perfect on the outside. But I knew something was off the moment I arrived. My aunt wouldn't look at my cousin Emily. Emily wouldn't look at her husband. And her husband, let's just say he looked like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. During the toast, Grandma stood up, smiling proudly. She thanked everyone for coming. Then she paused and looked directly at Emily's husband. She said, "And thank you to some people for finally deciding to show their faces after months of secrets." The entire room froze. Emily's husband turned white. Emily started to shake her head, whispering, "Please, not here." But Grandma continued. She lifted her hand and pointed at him with the same finger she used to scold us as kids. "You thought we wouldn't find out you've been seeing another woman? You thought you could lie to my granddaughter and still sit at my table?" Gasps filled the room. Someone dropped a plate. The band literally stopped playing mid-song. Emily burst into tears as her husband tried to speak, but my uncle jumped in, yelling, "You cheated on her in your own house during work hours!" The chaos exploded instantly. Shouting, crying, relatives pulling each other aside. People who hadn't spoken in years suddenly joined forces. Others left the room entirely. And Grandma? She sat down calmly, sipped her sparkling water, and said, "I'm too old for lies. If the truth ruins the party, so be it." By the end of the night, Emily's husband had left the house with his suitcase. Two drunk cousins got into a fight over whose side to take, and the photographer quietly deleted half the photos because the background was full of people arguing. Grandma's 80th birthday will definitely be remembered, just not for the reason she planned. My family loves pretending everything is perfect. The kind of family that smiles for every photo, but argues the second the camera turns off. So when my cousin Mark announced he would drive Grandma to the annual family reunion, everyone acted thrilled, until they saw the car he arrived in. A beat-up old Honda, rust on the doors, dents on the side, and one headlight held together with duct tape. Mark stepped out, grinning proudly, and said, "Don't judge. She may look rough, but she runs." Grandma didn't mind. She actually laughed and said it reminded her of her first car, so they took off. But 2 hours later, the real drama began. When they arrived at the reunion, my aunt noticed something odd. The backseat of the Honda was stuffed with boxes with Grandma's name written on them. Mark tried to brush it off. "Oh, she told me to bring some stuff from her house." But Grandma looked confused. She whispered, "Stuff? I didn't give you anything." Everyone froze. My uncle opened one of the boxes and found photo albums, jewelry, old letters, her wedding ring, things she would never give away to anyone. Mark turned pale. Grandma asked calmly, "Why did you pack my things without telling me?" And that's when Mark cracked. He admitted he planned to hold on to some of her valuables, just in case the family started fighting over them later. But everyone knew what that really meant. The reunion turned chaotic. My aunt started yelling. My dad kicked the side of the Honda, and the loose bumper literally fell off. Grandma just stood there shaking her head, tears in her eyes. She said, "I trusted you enough to let you drive me, and this is what you were doing behind my back?" Mark tried to apologize, but no one listened. He grabbed his keys, got in the beat-up Honda, and drove away with the muffler dragging on the ground. Grandma didn't say much the rest of the night. She just kept holding her wedding ring tightly in her hand. And that's when it hit all of us. Sometimes the most broken thing in a family isn't the car. It's the person driving it.
My family spent months planning my cousin Sarah's wedding. It was supposed to be perfect, elegant venue, big guest list, and one rule everyone knew: no drama. The ceremony went smoothly. Sarah looked happy, her husband looked nervous, and the whole family smiled like nothing could go wrong. At the reception, people laughed, drank champagne, and pretended we were one big loving family. But I noticed my aunt, Sarah's mother, kept watching one person, Sarah's older brother Daniel. When it was time for speeches, Daniel stood up with a glass in his hand. He smiled and said, "I've been waiting years for this moment." At first, everyone laughed. Then his voice changed. He said, "Sarah deserves honesty, and so does the rest of the family." Daniel turned toward the groom and said, "Before you married my sister, did you tell her about the money you owe my parents?" The room went silent. Sarah froze. Her smile disappeared as she whispered, "What is he talking about?" Her husband didn't answer. Daniel continued. He borrowed thousands, promised to pay it back, never did. And now he's marrying into the family like nothing happened. Sarah's mother started crying. Her father stood up so fast his chair fell over. Guests stared. Phones came out. This was no longer a wedding. It was a public trial. Sarah walked away from the table without saying a word. The groom followed her, begging her to talk. The band stopped playing. The wedding ended early. Some guests left angry. Some left embarrassed. Sarah hasn't spoken to her brother since. And the groom, he moved out 2 weeks later. Because sometimes, the truth doesn't wait for the right moment. It chooses the loudest one. My family gathered to celebrate my father's 60th birthday. Big house, long table, balloons, and smiles that looked a little too forced. It was supposed to be simple. Food, laughter, old stories, and one special gift from all of us kids together. My younger sister Emma insisted on being the one to hand it to him. She was smiling too much. That should have been my first warning. Dad opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a printed bank statement. The room went quiet. He looked confused at first. Then his face changed as he read the numbers. Thousands of euros. Withdrawn over months? My mother whispered. What is this supposed to mean? Emma crossed her arms and said, It means you should finally know. She pointed at my older brother, Luke, the same brother who had been helping Dad manage his finances. Emma said Luke had been moving money from Dad's account into his own, paying rent, buying gadgets, living a life he couldn't afford. Luke stood up, angry and defensive. He said he was going to pay it back. He said Dad wouldn't have noticed anyway. That sentence broke something. Dad pushed his chair back and walked out of the room without saying a word. The birthday cake was still untouched. The candles kept burning. The party ended early. No singing, no gifts. Luke moved out a week later, and my father hasn't let anyone touch his finances since. Because sometimes, the worst betrayals come wrapped as help.
For years, my family had a secret that everyone pretended not to see. It wasn't because we didn't know. It was because admitting it would have changed everything. It all started with small, almost unnoticeable things. A little money missing from a purse here, a few dollars from a wallet there. Excuses that never quite added up. And then there were the long, heavy silences that would fall over the room whenever my uncle's name was mentioned. He was supposed to be the fun one, the life of the party, always joking, always charming. Everyone loved having him at family gatherings. But looking back, I realized he never stayed very long. He'd show up, make everyone laugh, and then disappear just as quickly, often leaving a strange feeling behind. The truth finally came crashing down after my grandmother passed away. We were all gathered in her quiet house, tasked with the heartbreaking job of sorting through her belongings, a lifetime of memories packed into drawers and closets. That's when we found the box. It was tucked away in the deepest corner of her closet, sealed with old tape and coated in a thick layer of dust. My mom carefully opened it. Inside, it wasn't old photos or keepsakes. It was a collection of bank letters, stacks of unpaid bills in his name, and a pile of handwritten notes my grandmother had written but never sent. Page after page, she detailed lending money to my uncle. Again and again and again. She wrote about how scared she was to say no, scared he would stop visiting, scared she would lose a son she loved. The amounts weren't small. We started adding them up, and the number just kept growing. Over the years, it totaled more than her entire life savings. She had given him everything. When my mother finally confronted him, his reaction was what truly broke us. He just laughed. He said, "She offered. I never forced her to do anything." But the words that cut the deepest came next. "She's gone now. Why are you digging all this up?" That was the moment we understood. He didn't feel a shred of guilt because, in his mind, he had done nothing wrong. He saw her love and fear as an opportunity. We didn't call the police. We didn't try to get the money back. We knew it was long gone. We did something much quieter. We simply stopped inviting him. We stopped calling. The family gatherings are different now. They're smaller, calmer, but they also feel lighter. There's an honesty in the room that wasn't there before. Sometimes, protecting your peace and your family means finally acknowledging the painful truth you have spent years trying to avoid. It's not easy, but it's necessary. The family group chat that exposed everything. Our family group chat was supposed to be harmless. Just birthdays, photos, and the occasional, "Who's bringing dessert?" Until one message changed everything. It was a random Tuesday evening when my aunt sent a screenshot by accident. She deleted it almost immediately, but not fast enough. In the screenshot, we could see another group chat. Same family members except my sister and me were missing. And the name of that chat? Real Family. At first, people tried to laugh it off. My aunt said it was a joke, a misunderstanding, nothing serious. But then messages started coming in. Someone asked, "Who sent the screenshot?" Another replied, "Oh no, they weren't supposed to see that." That's when my phone started buzzing privately. Apologies, explanations, excuses that didn't quite make sense. My sister asked a question no one wanted to answer. How long has this chat existed? No one replied. Later that night, my cousin finally admitted it. They had created the second group years ago because my sister and I were too sensitive, too opinionated, too different. They said it was easier without us. What hurt wasn't the exclusion. It was realizing how normal it felt to them. Family dinners suddenly made sense. The inside jokes we didn't understand. The plans we found out about too late. The next day, my sister quietly left the main group chat. I followed. No announcement. No drama. A few relatives noticed weeks later and asked why we left. We didn't explain. Because the truth is simple. Once you see how people talk about you when you're not there, you never hear their words the same way again. The air in the lawyer's office was thick with a tension you could cut with a knife. My siblings, Mark and Sarah, and I were all there for the reading of our father's will. We expected a straightforward split of his estate, 3 ways down the middle. After all, that's what he always told us. Dad was a man of his word, or so we thought. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, cleared his throat and began to read. He started with the usual bequests, personal items for each of us. My father's old watch for Mark, his favorite armchair for Sarah, and his collection of vintage vinyl records for me. We all smiled, a little sadly. Then Mr. Henderson got to the main assets, the house and the savings. My breath caught in my throat. He announced that the house, the home we grew up in, was left entirely to Sarah. A collective gasp filled the room. Mark shot Sarah a look of pure betrayal. Before he could say anything, Mr. Henderson continued. The entire savings account, a substantial sum our father had worked his whole life for, was left to Mark. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Nothing. I got nothing but old records. My siblings were staring at each other, one in shock, the other with a smug look I'd never seen on his face. I just sat there numb. Then, Mr. Henderson read the final line, a personal note from our dad. He explained that he'd given me my inheritance early. Years ago, when I wanted to start my own business, he gave me the seed money without a second thought, telling me it was a gift. The note said, "I already invested in your dream, and seeing you succeed was the greatest return I could ever ask for. That was your share, and you've already made it worth more than I could have ever left you." Tears welled up in my eyes. It all made sense. My siblings looked at me, their anger melting away into understanding. It wasn't about the money. It was about his faith in us, each in a different way. We left that office not as rivals, but as a family, finally understanding our father's true legacy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you next time. My family has a tradition. Every year, on my grandma's birthday, all the women get together to make her famous apple pie. It's a huge deal. They laugh, they share stories, and they pass down the secret recipe. I always loved watching them, dreaming of the day I'd be old enough to join in. When I turned 16, I was so excited. I thought, this is my year. I bought a new apron and practiced peeling apples for weeks. The morning of Grandma's birthday arrived, and I waited for my mom to call me into the kitchen, but the call never came. I could hear them all in there, their laughter echoing through the house. I peeked in, and my heart just sank. They'd already started without me. My mom, my aunts, my older cousins. Everyone was there, covered in flour, their hands busy with dough. I tried to act casual. I walked in and said, "Hey, can I help?" My aunt just smiled and said, "Oh, sweetie, we've got it under control. Why don't you go set the table?" It felt like a punch to the gut. I wasn't just told no. I was given a different task, pushed aside. The next year, the same thing happened. And the year after that, I was never invited, never included. It was a quiet exclusion, one without a big fight or a dramatic scene, which somehow made it hurt even more. I eventually stopped trying. I'd just stay in my room on Grandma's birthday, listening to the happy sounds from the kitchen, feeling like a ghost in my own family. It wasn't about the pie. It was about being left out of a circle I desperately wanted to be a part of. Sometimes the traditions that are meant to bring a family together can be the very things that highlight who is on the outside looking in. Have you ever experienced something like this? A silent exclusion that spoke volumes? Let me know your story in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.
For almost 3 years, my father and I didn't speak. There wasn't some huge, dramatic blowout fight. It was quieter than that. It was the slow, silent buildup of 100 little heartbreaks. He'd forget my birthday again. He'd completely space on a conversation we had just the day before, one that was really important to me. Plans we made, he'd be hours late, or sometimes just wouldn't show up at all with no call, no text. Each time it happened, a little piece of me would just deflate. And when I'd finally work up the courage to tell him how much it hurt, how invisible it made me feel, it was always the same response. "You're being too sensitive. That's just how I am. You should know that by now." The message was clear. My feelings didn't matter as much as his habits, so I stopped. I stopped calling. I stopped trying to explain. I just went silent. It was easier than facing another disappointment. The silence was heavy, but it was also a shield. Then, about a month ago, an unknown number called me. I almost ignored it, but something made me answer. It was him. His voice sounded different, older. He didn't make excuses. He didn't say I was overreacting. He just said, "I'm sorry. I know I wasn't the father you needed me to be. I was so caught up in my own world. I didn't see I was losing you. I have no excuse. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say." It was the apology I had given up on ever hearing. We talked for an hour. It wasn't a magic fix. 3 years of silence don't just vanish, but it was a start. It was a tiny seed of hope planted in what I thought was barren ground. Healing is a long road, and we're just at the beginning of it. But for the first time in a long time, it feels like a road we might be able to walk together. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've gone through something similar, remember you're not alone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.